Pig, stop blocking it. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My foot sunk in the mud. Great.
Impacted by the disaster that occurred 1 century ago on the 6th of July 1923. From the Kiwi Rail.
It's so beautiful, you and me. We meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free.
Robert and I were curious as to why our local free paper and the radio station were advertising this place called Ongarue, where a train accident occurred 100 years ago. So, of course, we had to come and see for ourselves what it was all about. We brought our bikes too, seeing that it was near a timber trail track. So come back soon for that episode. And I was pleased to see some history boards with information about Ongarue. For the children in the bush camps, the tramway was a route to the bright lights of Ongarue and Taumarunui to see what treasures the shops were offering, and kids would hitch a ride on the tramway to go hunting in the bush, rather than going to school. The Ellis and Burnand timber mill was the main reason for Ongarue's existence, as they employed 70 workers to supply timber for the hectic post-World War II building boom. The mill employed some clever horses who could tell by the scent of different wood stacks where to stop and unload. The horses even seemed to know the time too, as when their handlers were late unharnessing them, they would take off back to the stables, cart and all. And rather than dismantling the mill in May of 1966, the owners decided to simply burn it. There's the cars all parked up. Hi! Hello, beautiful. I know. Wait for your master to come back. Look how many cats there are behind the pig. Pig, you're blocking the way. Pig, stop blocking it. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 cats? Oh. I love it. Look at them. I'm waiting for it. They are, they ran. They're getting fed. Good. So what are we doing exactly, Robert? We are in Ongarue, just out of Taumarunui. And we are here for the 100-year memorial? This is just a memorial. Celebration, yeah, unveiling maybe, of the Ongarue rail disaster in 1923 on the 6th of July. And today's the 8th of July. And it's a miserable day. Well, actually, the rain just starting to stop. So, that's where we are. See? Ongarue. That's where we are. Next to the railway tracks that we're heading toward now. I've got to get back over this mud here. Ongarue Sale Yards. Didn't even know this place was even a thing. breakfast. Ongarue Village. Ongarue Village store. You save always at Foursquare. It was a Foursquare. Dollars and cents, shillings and pence. Flash pack is Ongarue. Huh, oh, there's an Ongarue River. Yay, I don't need to know the name of it. Ooh, now that's interesting. I like the way it's being held up by the tyres. How clever. Oh, and that. Black Fern Lodge. Okay. I missed that. We could have taken a shuttle. Hey, Bobby. But we chose to walk like these people. Rugby club. People have taken the shuttle. We're nearly there. Right, Bo. Recycling. Okay. Oh, they're blocking the road off up there. I had to do the recycling right now. It's so cute, isn't it? Look at that, unveiling, that's what it is. Huge. Later. These things have to be unveiled. Nice. It's really 11:15. Hasn't started yet. Oh, mud. Ah! Low. I've got wet feet. This is a bit bright this way. No, there's my foot sunk in the mud. Great. So now we rugby board. Oh, how lovely. The western curtain. Look at that.
Testing, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you all to this memorial unveiling. And please get around and make sure you can see, and all that with some particularly inspiring and good-looking people about to address you.
Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, te katoa. And good morning, Morena, to everyone. And welcome to our Ruapehu district and to our small village, Ongarue. A special morena to the New Zealand Rugby Union, who were, of course, they had representatives on the train and played an important role in the recovery of the injured on that day. But more importantly, a very warm welcome to you all. We brought the weather with us, of course, this morning, but it wasn't like this earlier in the week. Today we gather here to unveil the Ongarue Railway Disaster Memorial and to remember and honour the victims, whānau and communities impacted by the disaster that occurred 1 century ago on the 6th of July 1923. We also reflect and remember those who lost their lives in other rail tragedies, namely the Hyde in the South Island and Taumarunui in our own Ruapehu district. The Ongarue railway disaster holds significant historic importance as it marked the first major loss of life in New Zealand rail history when the overnight express tragedy collided with a landslip just down the way from here, resulting in the loss of 17 lives and injuries of 28 individuals. This incident remains the third worst railway incident in the history of New Zealand. I am privileged to be here today both as the Ruapehu Mayor and as a grandson of the Taumarunui railway station master at the time of this accident, Alfred Weston Curtin. But to know that we've achieved this to this point here in erecting a memorial that acknowledges those who died and those who responded to the major disaster. Thank you all for coming here today for this significant occasion. And let us always remember Ongarue and the other railway disasters in their enduring impact of our nation.
Rail in 1923, rail workers were basically pioneers. The North Island main trunk in this area would have been only open for a couple of decades. Work would have been hard work. Locomotive open to the elements, a mix of too hot, too cold, fumes, sand. I recall my father going to work as a steam engine driver in the 60s with 3 bottles of milk in his leather satchel to wash down the coal dust. He later died of adult leukemia. Landslides, slips and washouts are arguably the biggest hazard to rail and rail workers. This would have been relevant then in 1923, but also relevant now. Sadly, we lost an engine driver in 1991, not too distant from here, Graham Orange. The loco crew on train 221 on the 6th of July 1923 would not have been expecting to hit a slip, and certainly not a slip with a large boulder large enough to derail the locomotive. The engine driver, Alexander Stewart, was a senior driver, and they had a pecking order in those days. It's called the D3, and he was number 2 on the D3 with 38 years experience. Alexander sustained injuries when the locomotive derailed. The fireman, Bill Campbell, was at the start of his rail career, but he was sufficiently experienced to be able to fire on an express passenger train. Bill Campbell suffered serious injuries and never worked in rail again. He was in his 20s.
The railway in those days was a bit like the airline of today, and a mixture of people were using it, the train that night. Some family members, some ladies going to meet their family. I think there was a commercial traveller, the Maori rugby team itself, because that's the way to get around the country for their next game at Ongarue. And so lives were impacted right across North Island at least by these sudden deaths. And so I would like to remember those people as the principal reason for our occasion today.
Brady, Maurice Connor, Lawrence Curry, Ursula Donald, Andrew Grant, Horace Hunt, William Lee, Charles Main, David McComb, Benjamin Mears, George Morgan, Charles Painter, William Pitchcott, Helen Saxby, Harry Ward, and Norman Waters. So the first wreath would be from the Rail Heritage Trust. From the Kiwi Rail. The New Zealand Maori Rugby Board, the Ruapehu District Council, New Zealand Police, Track. This is our Taumarunui Society, which helps preserve our rail heritage. From the Taumarunui Hospital, we have a nurse in the nurse's uniform of the time, and she has a wreath to that. And the Mayor, Weston Curtin, has a wreath on his own account. Inframat Construction, Ongarue School, the Maori Wardens, St John Ambulance, the Taumarunui Volunteer Fire Brigade. Can we have another wreath? And I'm sorry, my up the curtain family. So, your wreath. Liz, could you unveil them, please? We're going to unveil the informative plaques at the same time. We haven't touched them yet. So these are informative posters and well worth a read after the ceremony. They will be put in permanent and not just stuck on as these have been stuck on. This was to get us going for the day. It's been quite a saga to get stuff ready as it has been for today. Well, that concludes the formal part of the ceremony. There is Kai at the school, and there will be a meandering trail of people going down to the school shortly. Do come and read the informative posters.
Yeah, just in those very remote areas where we can't get you guys.
The accident happened on the early hours of Friday the 6th, and by Sunday evening of the 8th, the first train travelled over the new section of track coming from Taumarunui. People at the back of the train only felt a slight bump when the train stopped, only learning of the accident when someone asking if a doctor or nurse was on board. 2 passengers swapped seats moments before the accident to play a game of cards. One survived, the other was killed. He was pinned under the carriage and remained conscious while it was being jacked up, but died minutes after being extricated. Benjamin Meir was trapped, with flames making rescue impossible. So when they finally got to him, his face was a mass of red flesh, his hands badly burned, and skin hanging from him in raw strips. But his first words to his rescuers were, "Give us a cigarette." They helped him smoke it, but he later died from his wounds. Special trains were sent to help re-rail the train, and one of the men from Auckland's Newmarket Railway workshop complained of leg pains, so sat down to rest. His companions came back to check on him to find him dead. So, if you're ever driving past here, be sure and stop in at the little village of Ongarue to see this memorial for yourselves. It's well worth visiting.